Welcome, buonasera, good evening. Men and women and young folk of Sunbury and surrounds, welcome. Men and women and young folk from further afield, welcome. Tonight at the Twilight School Conversations, Father Bob Maguire. Priests Without Borders.
Not being investigated by the Royal Commission?
No, Father. Father, this is my bit of the show.
That's what I think this is set up.
We haven't... Father, we haven't started yet, okay? So far this year at the Twilight School, just excuse me for 30 seconds, Helen Garner, Reverend Tim Costello, Mother's Day Breakfast, Dr. David Collins, Susan McLean, the Pruning and Horticultural Masterclass were all held here. And coming later in the year, Martin Flanagan, Hugh McKay, Michelle Attard, and an Indigenous music night, amongst other things. How does that sound? Could you please welcome Roman Catholic priest, 38 years at St. Peter and Paul's Parish in South Melbourne. And it's where I went to primary school too, Father, and I sang Tantum Ergo in the choir loft one night too. Instigator of the Father Bob Foundation, formerly set up the Emerald Hill Mission, broadcaster on 3 Triple J on every Sunday night, television presenter, now parish priest of Parish Without Borders. Could you please welcome the inimitable, the indefatigable Father Bob Maguire. Father, I've done some research. So,
out of kilter here.
Are we? What do you mean?
I did it because I said, because I'm a bit of a commo, I said, you see, you've got to see that man in red down there who's paid his money, look, and you've got to go right around there and around there and around there and around there and around there. That's the primary target. But to do that, you see, this is a predicament. So what do we do?
Can you see me now, Father?
Well, I can't actually.
Yeah. Do you want me to sit on your lap or something?
No, you'd have to go there, or I'd have to go here or something.
Okay. But can you hear me all right? Can everyone hear all right everywhere?
Yes.
Father Bob Maguire,
yes.
The opening question is, and you've got to actually answer my questions tonight because you came
We've been through this all before and you got the huff.
Father, is this gathering here tonight a testament that community is working, or is it a testament that community is broken down at the local street level?
No, she's right.
And we need to come out.
This is all right, but the age group, you see what I mean? The age group, you see, this is, you've got a generational problem. You see, I mean, where the 18-year-olds are not here. But they, darling, I'm not saying he, she, they. Collectively, we've said we've got a generational problem. When they come back from fighting with ISIS, we're going to lock them all up. So it's a generational problem.
Is that because...
We're not going to talk to them.
Father, is that because this kind of format doesn't appeal to them? Is that because ritual...
I don't know, I'm 80. I don't know. You see, all I do, all you can do is co-locate and see what happens. You see, which you do in a house, isn't it?
Father, the young people
co-locate and hope for the best. So they turn out to be whatever. You want them to turn out to be like you, well, you see, well, you're buggered. Because they refuse to do it.
Father, I've seen you in action, and your Triple J audience is a young audience. I've seen young people around you. Yeah. They do gravitate to what you're saying, don't they?
Or the manner. I suspect it's the manner, not the material. Because if you're a clown, although you can't use that these days because of the Royal Commission today, some bloke, I think, did you hear that thing? So he's saying you better get out from behind your what do you call it, robes, and stop presenting yourselves in public like a clown. Not me, but I mean, if you dress up, he says, and he meant, I think, that kiddies are frightened of clowns. See what I mean? Anyway, sorry.
Father, let's just do a little bit of biographical stuff before we get into some of the big questions around faith and social justice and reconciliation.
What'd you say, faith?
Faith.
God.
Don't start yet, okay?
All right.
You joined the seminary at 18.
There was nowhere else to go.
Well, tell us what it was like, and tell us what an 18-year-old Bob Maguire was like?
See, I don't know. See, I mean, once they're dead, your parents and that, you're on your own. Now, who the hell, who do you know, what do you know about who you are? See, that wasn't nice. They all cleared out, 3 of them at once. And it didn't leave any trace. So, I mean, I presume you have a mother and a father, and I had a nice sister who died of TB at 20. That wasn't nice, see, because they were all off the stage. Now, you don't know who you are, you see, if you're not surrounded by the herd. See, plus we're Scottish migrants. So they're all in Glasgow. See what I mean? Yeah, all of that. But I mean, cousins and all that. The old man was a drunk before he left. See? And which meant that he probably had alienated some of the cousins. See, because they wouldn't want to go there because he was a flamboyant drunk. See? They should have paid to go there.
But you still loved your dad, didn't you?
Oh, yeah, I love them all. I love yous all.
No.
You do, but I mean, I'm
no,
not.
But you did. And
yeah, well, I want to redeem the poor old bugger because I think, you see, if you're that drunk and that flamboyant and you've been in the Royal Navy in World War One and the Merchant Navy in World War Two, well, then you deserve redemption. Now, in those days, I don't think we went into terribly deep and meaningful psychopathology about why is he a drunk. The same as we're not going to go deeply, if it's left to Mr. Rabbit, into why did the boys go to overseas. See, we're impatient, the Aussies. We won't go into the backstory. We can't go into our own backstory, otherwise we'll have to go and take all our clothes off and wear sackcloth and ashes in memory of the takeover of the country. So the backstory frightens us. See what I mean? And it's the same with, I mean, I'm not frightened of the backstory now, but I had to reach 80. You see, and I like the backstory now, which we never had. You find yourself at the end of secondary school, with what was the choice in those days? What was it, 1948, I think? Therefore, the choice for Catholic young males was the public service, wasn't it? Or the army. You could, if you had a few quid. I would have preferred the army, but I never had any money. The public service, a job for life, wasn't it? And there were certain departments that Roman Catholics could infest, like taxation, wasn't it? Customs. Half of the coppers were Masons and half were Roman Catholics. So there was the balance of power thing going on, because we'd only been there for 100 years, you see. We haven't been here long. See, I think this joint is, this is 100? See, most of it's 100. You see, what we're finding now is the fall of the empire, you see, and we're left with the paraphernalia of the Roman Catholic Empire. So it's over, Red Rover.
Father, let's just go back to some of the early days.
I then went into the priest training joint.
Yeah.
All right? I stayed there for 8 years because there was nowhere else to go.
Sure. Tell me about some of the people who were the great kind of theologians and teachers in the seminary. Did they?
Not many.
Did they? They weren't? Were they an impressive group of teachers?
They were all right. They kept they kept law and order. That was the main thing.
But did they fire you with some kind of zeal about doing something?
No, God, no.
No?
Oh, God, no. No, they're only there like most teachers, isn't it? Teeny teachers.
There's lots of teachers.
Well, you've got to... Well, to inspire and all that kind of stuff is a dream. It's beautiful.
You inspire?
Yeah, but I mean, you asked me about 1900 and whatever it was in the seminary. We never got any inspiration until Vatican II, which was later. But the beginnings were the 50s. So we were a bit lucky because we were training to be clergymen during the time when the Roman Catholic Empire was confessing to its sins, and it was rising from the dead, which it did from 1950s through 60s. It came out, and we all went to the top of the mountain and saw the Promised Land. And a lot of people have been through that. There'll be a lot of people in here tonight who went through the ordeal, and they've never lost the view, because they went to the top of the mountain and saw the Promised Land, where Roman Catholicism was community-minded and it was humble. you see, and accepted that the secular world was in fact the master of its own universe. And we were only there to help people of any faith and none to find their way safely home, see? But that was it wasn't an illusion, because it'll be on again. But I mean, in the meantime, we spent 8 years trying to wrap our heads around the departure of the old order, because we came in as old Catholics from our mothers, fathers, and the tribe. And then we went through the 8 years, and we ended up as what will I say, as New Age Catholics. See? So that's when we took off the clobber.
Was that a difficult period to live through? Did you have a sense as a young priest that something was kind of really blowing in the wind, that there was some exciting times ahead? What were the signs that there was some great loosening up, some great kind of aggiornamento, some great modernising?
Change the language for a start, which you'll have to do again now, because the buggers changed it back again. See what I mean? See, we've been cursed with that wedge that George Pell and the others forced into the Roman Catholic Church. And he admitted it. I mean, I admire the man for being an honest bully. Well, it is. It's better to have that than to have a dishonest bully, or to have, you know what I mean? Or to have an assassin. But George would have, flogged us, because he said, I have a dream. Somebody else said it before him, but he said, I have a dream. And there's only two kind of Catholics. One is what he called authentic Catholics, and the others were cafeteria Catholics. Now that's his life, George. See, his aim is to eliminate the cafeteria Catholics, and to try to encourage authentic, which they have, you see. And he was lucky, because he ended up with the German Pope, for God's sake, who was in also authentic Catholic class, and the poor Polish Pope, God rest his soul, who was always terrified of communists. The German Pope was terrified of the world, and that suited the clerics who at that time, this is where I think probably sexual abuse came from, I suspect, but you're going to do it later. Not sexual abuse, but...
I might give you a hug or something, Father, but that's as far as it'll go, you know.
Anyway, that's what happened. We came at the end of that. You see, we were allegedly revolutionaries. We're cafeteria Catholics.
Tell us about the times, the zeitgeist, the feeling around you that said, I want to be a priest that gets his hands dirty, that goes and works with the marginalised, that does the heavy work. Where did you imbibe that kind of spirit from?
If I know, Scotland, I think.
Truly?
Probably. Well, the Scots are strange. The Scots are... We're very... Well, we've got a sense of an innate sense of justice, you see, and that gets us through. We know the British are bastards, and we've just won because, in fact, they thought that we wanted to stay united with them, didn't we? We voted for that, didn't we? Little did they know we'd creep up with them and end up with 50 seats in the House of Parliament, you see. So we're a strange mob. We have a funny way of being serious, the Scots. You see?
So your sense of injustice is innate.
Well, I'm saying
it's
partly
in your DNA.
that, but I mean, I suspect the DNA. I suspect also, you learn it, of course, from the environment. That's why I'm saying the boys who go overseas, we should work out the backstory. What was their environments like to turn them into sociopaths? What was it like? Oh, it was lovely because his mother's lovely and his father's lovely, and they work, and all those performance indicators we apply to see if anybody's any good. You know what I mean? But oftentimes they're false performance indicators. The school I was in, I think, was all right. The primary school. It was a mixture of Armidale, which is rich, and Paran, which is poor. So you had rich kids, poor kids mixed together. The street was all right. Pridham Street was about that wide. We shared, what do you call walls? Party walls, is it? I'm in number 47 when the old man was yelling and screaming. But next door, of course, was they were yelling and screaming too. See, but they used to, one better than us, they used to smash things up against the wall. So it was a great show there. Ours were a bit quieter because he used to declaim Shakespeare, for God's sake, when he was pissed. To be or not to be, that is the question.
Father, do you think that kind of violence that you witnessed and there in your own home with your father, do you think that also helped shape your sense of injustice? And did it shape a kind of a sensitivity to those who are bashed around and buffeted around?
Look, I saw a thing, Japanese television, believe it or not, because I've got no wife, child or lover. So I'm watching Japanese television.
There was never a lover?
No lover.
Never?
Oh, no, only the parish of South Melbourne, and we're divorced.
Sure. We'll come to that. We'll come to that soon. But I was serious about that.
What about the Japanese woman, I'm telling you? She said she grew up in a home where there was no affection when she was little. And she was adopted out, and there was nice people, but there was no whatever, that X factor. You know what I mean? Intimacy, you see. And she said, strangely enough, from youth, she said, I was determined that I would spend my life helping other people to experience intimacy. It's strange, see, because you think go the other way. I never had it, therefore I don't want anybody else to have it. She went the other way and said, never had it, and I know I love it so much, whatever it is, that I want, and that's, I suppose, what I do. You see what I mean? And that's what annoys me about the clergy, especially diocesan clergy, because in fact, if they don't fall in love with their parishes, you see, or are encouraged to, well, then they're not going to fall in love with anybody but themselves, which means they'll stay total permanent adolescents.
Tell us about
I'm 80 and I'm an adolescent. See what I mean? But I was lucky that I had the lover, you see, for 40 years in South Melbourne.
What was the essence of that love affair with that parish of St. Peter and Paul's?
Put them first. Simple. That's what I thought the cross was all about, but somebody tells me it's about satisfying God's bloodlust or something.
So you have no
his
doubt
own
about
and
that?
Only son. What? You killed him? Yeah. Oh, it's nice. No, I think it's been self-sacrifice. It's all about self-sacrifice.
So the essence of Christianity
all
is about
self-sacrifice.
putting others first.
Humanity, it's all about self-sacrifice, we see, but philosophies come in, well, not philosophy so much as, I would say, economies. Because I think economy becomes the great ideology which rules the universe, doesn't it?
Father, you talk about, in the stuff I've read and in your book and in some of the docos and that you've made, you talk about Christianity.
You're right. The bloke
You're doing
up
well.
there,
I'm keeping tabs on it. You talk about Christianity and then there's the church.
Yeah.
You say they're separate.
Yeah.
Why are they separate?
Well, it was their choice.
Who's there?
The churches. Because in the year 380 or something, wasn't it? The emperor offered the deal to the Roman Pope of Rome and said, I won't throw you the Christians to the lions and tigers anymore if you become the public service of the Roman Empire. Simple. What would you do? So he signed the thing. They became the public service, otherwise known as clerics, clerks of the Roman Empire, and they didn't get thrown to the lions and tigers anymore. It's simple. Now, from there, you see, you've got a problem now because you've signed the thing, and you could have done better, but you signed your soul away. So you stopped being the Catholic, you stopped being the Jesus movement, and you became the Christian institution. So now you've got a problem because institutions gobble up movements. See what I mean? And that's what's happened to us, you see. We'll get there. We're going there because the boys in Ballarat, you see, will say, listen, you better throw all this out and start again. It's all right.
Father, when I was at university, we were told that secularism was on one side and it was divided from religiosity or religion. You say secularism is as sacred as religious experience. You blur that entirely, you throw all that theology out, and you say...
Well, I'm not throwing it out. Go easy, you know. I'm only moving the bits around.
All right. Well, you've moved the bits around, but you've destroyed the borders and the distinction, and you go... The things we do in our day-to-day world have a sacred kind of meaning.
Yeah, that's why I got in the bloody car at 5:30 or something and went through this ghastly ordeal with all the other brothers and sisters on the goddamn Tullamarine Freeway and the signs that say turn off at Diggers Bloody Restaurant. I mean, what did I do that for? Because I said, I'm going to Sunby, and this is all from the time I got out of my house till now, an experience of the real presence of God.
Is this
all I do. I'm selfish.
Father, is this your
This
church?
is the real presence of God. You see what I mean? You are gloriously ordinary people.
But we're drinking wine. And
I don't give a bugger what you're doing, you see, but because it's not the point. It's not what you do that matters. At this level, it's what the Japanese woman said. The Japanese, it's all she did for the rest of her life was go around pouring little tea ceremonies around wherever people would sit down for 5 minutes. And she said, what I'm doing is getting people to savour the moment in company with others. See? Now, there's a couple of profound things there, see, because the Japs go back a long way. See what I mean? Savour the moment, which is not terribly Western, is it? Bugger the moment. At the roundabout, the bloke said, get out the bloody road. See? Because he was on a mission. See? To shop. Let's savour the bloody moment, you know. Savour the moment. And you've all got, text and all that, haven't you? And you've all got broken necks from looking like, you know. And then, see what I mean? Savour the moment is going to be something that we're going to have to rediscover or discover anew. Savour the moment, but in company with others. See? Some bloke said, what others? Because I don't know. Because he's only texted. Some woman said she read on Facebook, I've just had an abortion. This is her sister.
Father, I need my
I've
notes.
just had an abortion, and I'd like to send a shout out to the father. Yeah. See?
But Father, my sense of
that's why this is important, see, because this is like the TARDIS.
Father, I agree. That's why I invited you.
This is like the Matrix. The Matrix. You see what I mean?
That's what my first question was alluding to. Is it important that we do that?
Yes, you'll have to do it, or that's the end of the universe as we know it.
Okay.
Simple.
But isn't it important, Father, that after we do this,
yes,
that the punters here and the people here go out and do something?
Yeah, but this will do for start.
Okay.
Because you can't frighten them.
Your criticism...
See, because if they go out and start getting mixed up with... You see... You can do it all right. Wasn't it Sunbury I was at, actually, I think, where the Rotary Club or something
last year,
said, we go down to the nightclub down there somewhere, and at midnight, so when the kiddies are coming out, we are there with soft drinks and barbecue or something. Is that right? Now, that's, you see, that's the jackpot. You see? If you do that, you see, that's savouring the moment. You see? And you're not making them turn into you. And you're not, you can't turn into them, but you will do what they'll have to do with the boys and girls coming back from overseas. They're going to have to meet them halfway. See? And find out lovingly, what are you trying to say? See what I mean?
Father, you also talk about this clash.
How are we going? Are we doing all right?
We're doing really well, Father. Right. You also talk about a clash of culture, and that's often talked in terms of Islam versus Christianity. Yeah. But I think you talk about it as between what Jesus would do and what the Roman Church would do.
Yeah,
that's a pretty
Roman
provocative
Church.
Kind of analysis,
Why?
isn't it?
It's history.
Is it still doing that? Is
Roman Church?
Is that division?
See the movie. Get in Bob We Trust. The movie, it tells you. It's very brief. The producer, the director, did a marvellous job of thumbnail sketch of the history of the Roman Church. Just like that. I don't know how long it took, a minute and a half or something. Because it goes from Jesus coming out of the thing, out of the grave, and you go through the 400 years when we were all being thrown to the bloody lions and tigers, and we were also living in the underground. We were underground for 400, you see, and while we were underground we behaved ourselves. See? And for 400 years we never had syphilis or gonorrhea or AIDS because we had an enforced discipline, didn't we? When you're underground, thou shalt not steal, because you wouldn't be if you're doing that while you were living in the ghetto. You'd be thrown out. We'd throw you to the lions and tigers. You see what I mean? So underground we learnt reading, writing, and counting. You see, the same as the Jews always have in their ghettos. You see. Now that stood us in good stead. The Romans were terribly impressed with that because the Romans never had any of that self-discipline. See? And so they came up against this mob that they thought were the end of the earth, the pits down there in the ghetto, and they said, oh, Jesus, I think they've got the formula we need to survive. And they brought the reading, writing and counting with them and the, disciplined living. Thou shalt not commit adultery. The Romans loved adultery. You know what I mean? Same as the West does.
I'm not Roman.
See what I mean? No, but the West loves multiple partners and then laughs at Islam, who also love multiple partners, but they get in first and sign the document. You see what I mean? The West is hypocritical, you see, and uses the family law court.
Father, you got to South
Melbourne
Melbourne 40-odd years ago. What's happening in South Melbourne? What's the landscape like? What are the big social issues?
Oh, social issue? Well, I mean, they're the same as they were. See, things go like that. So, I mean, South Melbourne ports and all that and wharfies and all that kind of thing. Everybody had a job. Criminal and poverty and crime were generational, taken for granted.
So did you immediately think...
But when I'm saying now, to get from 1800 and whatever it was through to 1900 and whenever I got there, 73, you've had one of them changes when they've pulled all the factories down. Somebody had a bright idea, we'll pull all the factories down. And then they had another bright idea, we'll pull all the workmen's cottages down and we'll go trendy. And then we'll install a new population, and they installed, and it still is, the most densely populated public housing estate in Melbourne. So that's all their bits. But what you've done is you've destroyed the generationally poor and criminal community. So you might like the community, but it was a community. Poor and criminal. See what I mean? The same contribution the mafia made in southern Italy when they were being occupied by, who was it, the Portuguese or the Spaniards? One of that lot had taken over the whole of southern Italy, went up Europe too, to the Holland and all those places, and the boys said, oh, geez, we better get together and throw this lot out. See? And they did.
Did you have an immediate...
And then they became irreplaceable because they were the social welfare dispenser for southern Italy. And people fell in love with the mafiosi because they were heroes. You see what I mean? Now, it's the same with your criminales in South and Port. You see, they had their own morality. See? Don't mess with us. We look after our own. All that kind of thing, you see, which the suits, of course, sneer at. See? Because they can't understand that gut morality. Now, these days we couldn't live with it, of course, because, we won't, at least we say we won't, put up with any of this, locking kids in their rooms age 15 because they're on drugs. Simple, because then they can't get the drug.
Father, did the conditions that were there, were they...
I'm not saying lock them in their room. I don't say that.
No, we didn't think you said that.
I did say it, but
Were the conditions that were there, were they the things that inspired the way you decided?
Well, I was just a pragmatic. I'm a Scottish, for God's sake.
Okay.
We invented the bloody...
You didn't go and read Karl Marx
We invented bitumen for the roads. We invented the railways. Let's be practical. We've got to be practical in all these things. That's why we've got a brain. And we've got to learn to use it. And the older we get, madam, the more we've got to exercise it, because we've now realised that the plasticity of the brain... So I've got a bloke teaching me how to walk, because he said, because my condition is not, I've got all the bits. So nothing's broken, nothing.
Pleased about that.
But you see, you got another system called the, what's it called, the nervous system and the other thing. What? Yes, but I mean, oh God, that other thing. But it means that the immune system. So the immune system's buggered for the time being. Therefore, you see, there's holes in the coverings on the nerves, and the messages can't get from the brain to the bloody feet. Now he's saying, and there's a whole new science going on that says, by all means, follow the medical procedures, but at the same time, you've got to try to get your brain to accept some responsibility for improvements. See, and you can do it. You see? Now, I'm saying that we got a lot of things going for us whereby we are going to be able to become better societies, or I prefer community to society, because I think you can have a society of people who are only co-located. We all live in Sunbury. All right, so what? You're co-located. If you're going to be a Sunbury community, you're going to have to put others first. So you can't get away without it. No, we're not going to do that. I said, well, then just be satisfied with being a society. But don't call yourself a community. You see? Now, it's that putting the others first that's... It goes against what people think is our instinct, that we're afraid of strangers. We're learning that because the pollies are telling us. We've got to be afraid of the bloody refugees because they're going to take all the jobs. You've got to be afraid of the ISIS returnees because they're going to come back and blow up the MCG during the grand final. See, especially if Collingwood's playing. You see? You've got to be afraid of teenagers who use the F word, the beloved F word. See? Because teenagers are terrorists. Because they know if they drop the F word, boing, all hell will break loose. And they love it. Let us try the F word. Grandma's here. Boing! The jackpot, all hell has broken loose. See what I mean? So, I mean, it's fascinating, you see, to watch. I wish I had longer, but I mean, years-wise, because I think, you see, we'll get out of this all right. I think we'll get out of it all right. But you see, we won't get out of it if we let them frighten the tripe out of us. See? So it means you've got to have self-confidence and confidence as a town. You see what I mean? And you've got to have three bottom lines.
What are they?
The one is the money, of course. The second one is the social byproducts of what you're doing, social. And the third one, of course, is the environment. See? Now, trying to convince people who are only interested in money, they should be interested in the social. See, when they pulled our factories down, they got the cheek 50 years later to criticise my public housing people for not working. See, it's crazy. They pulled them down, then Jeff Kennett amalgamated the councils, which meant there were no longer council jobs. See, because our lot could sit on the thing and mow the lawn. You see what I mean? Or clean the street. See, have a bit of dignity, wear the overalls with the council thing on it. That's all they want, is identity. See, I'm working with the council. And the other thing they did, of course, give the bloody Albert Park to Mr. What's his name?
The Grand Prix person.
Well, they then turned the Albert Park became a corporation. So they bring in people. It'll be happening. It'll be at the start of next year. It'll happen when you've got all kinds of contractors coming in, putting up the stands and doing this and locking the park up. And see, the Westminster system says you elect people to Parliament, and then they appoint public servants. And it's the public service that runs the world, not the bloody pollies. You see what I mean? Now you've got a problem there, you see, because if they've got any brains, they'll stay away from the public. Because the public might start asking questions. See? And that's all pollies are doing now, is answering bloody questions. Whereas the Indians elected Mr. Modi, and I noticed some of his ministers said afterwards to the television interviewer, he said, by the way, this might be the last time we meet, because I'm not going to spend much time talking to the press. I spend some time, but I'm going to spend most of my time working. See, how in the name of God do you think that Mr. Rabbit can go around working and at the same time talking? You know what I mean? It's impossible. It's the same with your Roman Catholic archbishops and all that, see. They're not coming out talking at all. See? Because they've never mixed in public with what you sang. Was that woman there who sang that song?
Bianca.
Step outside and see what's shaken in the real world. Isn't it?
Yep.
Well, see, that's... how to get that, maintain that, is, I don't know, you see. Some cultures have got, gurus and wise people. The Aboriginal people have got elders.
We have priests.
No, forget the priests are gone. Forget the priests.
But they played that role, surely, Father.
No, they didn't. They played the role of being public servant. That's what it meant, cleric. You see?
Father, can we just...
Culture might, in fact, in different parts of the universe, culture might endow the cleric with an added texture, sure, like the Irish. So they became local gurus. Yes. But then the problem the community has is how to monitor and how to modify the eccentricities of the guru. You see what I mean? And that's what they came up against, and all the evidence will be. How, in the name of God, was the local priest able to sexually molest numbers? Where was the vigilant laity? But they had been trapped in the culture, and the culture says the priest is above suspicion and is above criticism, and anybody who does criticise is being unfaithful to the culture. See what I mean? And it's as simple as that. It's got not much to do with God. See, and it's got not much to do with religion.
So, Father, what are we going to do about the sex abuse scandal? I mean, it happened in this very school. It's happened in this very building. What needs to happen?
Do what the Aussies are doing. The Aussies are doing it all right. I mean, they'll work it out. I mean, I don't know what you do. An institution falls so far down. I mean, the Australian Defence Force has fallen. Other institutions, Urella, it says, isn't it? Just say all that stuff. Now, what's one of the problems is, and I'm the last in the world to be expected to be able to say it, but I mean, I'm going to say it anyway. While you're out on righteous investigations and shaming and blaming and flogging and hanging, which you're going to do anyway, beware of morbidity. That doesn't become your mindset and your heart is not corrupted. And after a while, as far as you're concerned, nobody is to be trusted. You see? Now, I don't know what you're going to do with that. I don't know what you're going to do with balancing that. See, that's why I thank God if you've got a wife, a child or a lover, well, then you've got to, to get tighter together, because you're going to need each other. See what I mean? You can't do it alone. It's too frightening. That's why the victims are saying when they went to Father Bloggs and said, Father Bloggs has done this to me, and the other bloke says that's an absolutely disgraceful thing to say or something. I don't know. Sorry?
Father, is it difficult for you at a personal level to say, I'm a Catholic priest, I bat for that team, but I'm dreadfully ashamed of what's been done under that name.
Yeah, but it's no good me being ashamed. All I do is go to Sunbury to do penance. You see?
So I'm penance.
Well, no, but I mean, it sounds nasty, but penance is good insofar as I do as I'm told. Once I get into a situation like you put me in, well, then what I do as I'm told. I find it far easier to do that than to start saying, well...
But it must, at some really deep level, it must discourage you. If I worked for an organisation...
What's the use of bloody discouragement?
I don't know.
We went through Bodyline, for God's sake. The British came here to play against us in cricket. Look what they did. They hit us in the guts. They hit us in the... Didn't they? The heart. What did Woodfull... Well, who was the bloke who stayed there and copped it with the bat? You made the bats here, for God's sake. Who was his... It wasn't Woodford. Who was the famous... It's a nice picture of the man hunched over like that after Mr. whatever his name... Sure. Had hit him in the chest with the cricket ball. Now, what do? Do you get discouraged and leave the field?
So you're saying the church...
Stay there.
Father, you're saying the church is experiencing its Bodyline and it will recover from this?
Yeah, no, but the world is not bowling Bodyline. The world is treating us more fairly than I would have expected that the world would treat us. Even the victims, I've been to victims' meetings and that, and I've said, I don't know if I should be here, No, you can stay here, you're all right. I said, no, this and this and this. And you see, I've worked out after knocking around with the victims' organisation, especially in good faith, that the victims mean the church no harm. Now, they've said that. Even if they say we've lost faith in the church, what she means is she's lost faith in the church officials. See what I mean? You can't... The church is you. Now, the Sunbury church might be in bad shape. It doesn't have to stay in bad shape. Depends on you. It's time for Catholics to occupy Catholicism. See, we were there in I can't remember the exact year, we were on the verge of introducing a lay-led Catholicism. We had the bloody documents, they were all over the place, called Church of the Future or something. And we had all the plans, clusters, partnering, parishes, and the clergy would be put in their place. All right? You will report for duty when required. See? But the local churches were to be run by lay people, married and otherwise. So it was there. George came and said, I was at a meeting, listen to him. There will be no congregationalism during my period as Archbishop. See? So he used the word which would frighten the natives. Congregationalism, what's that? Because the old ones had heard of a religious denomination called the Congregationalists. So we wouldn't have that in his time. And of course, he pursued that policy for as long as he was Archbishop of Melbourne. Now, you've also got a bunch of clerics who, in fact, there are out there clerics who, in fact, are Vatican tours. But see, they don't stick their head up above the parapet.
But you do.
Well, I've got nothing to lose.
Because you're 80 or because...
No, I lost the parish over it because that was only a clash of cultures. See? You may have been able... I don't think you would have been able to win that. I don't think so, because he was determined, or those behind him were determined that this culture... The culture was simple. We had fallen in love with the neighbourhood, and the neighbourhood had returned the favour. Now, once you got to that, you've been to the top of the mountain and seen the promised land. See? Sunbury loves the Catholics love Sunbury. When in trouble, go to the Sunbury Catholics. See what I mean? Oh, Wi-Fi. Well, you can go up to the Sunbury Catholic Church. There's a thing out the front that gives you free Wi-Fi. Oh, you're being bashed by your wife. Noticed how I turned that? Dangerous, though. Don't do it. You've been bashed, or we saw on the television last night how many parents have been bashed by their big kids. So it's your fault, you fed them. So I get to frighten myself, you know. What grade are you in? Grade 6. Oh, Jesus, he's, 6'6", got a beard. Isn't it?
Father, just going back to that moment where...
I thought that was nice, that thing about the neighbourhood.
Sure. Father, just look at me for a sec.
Yeah.
I'm still here.
I'm having
with
a
you,
nice
Father.
time here.
I'm having a lovely time, mate.
Are you having a nice time? That boy in red. Good on you, mate.
Father, you had every right to be really cross, and you could have mobilised that parish, and you could have kind of fought back. Why didn't you? Because you're pretty feisty.
Waste of time.
Really?
Well, it's the same as Bodyline. It's a waste of time.
Weren't they
So it's
clamouring
no good
to
to
keep
cry.
that parish the way it was, though?
Laugh and the world laughs with you. Cry and you cry alone. Isn't it? It's a waste of time. The Scots know that. You see what I mean?
You had every right to be.
But we were
cross,
public.
though.
See, what we did was, and it was God's blessing, was in fact we turned into a public character. So that was forced on me. I'm not particular. I'm not a psychopath. What am I? Psychosocially challenged. See, I don't like... But I mean, at the time, I remember it was strange because almost as soon as the news or AW or something had Father Bob Maguire's being told to retire, 75 years of age. Now, from that time on, that's when the film picture people came in, knocked on the door. Oh, we heard on the radio, we would like to... I said, all right, I don't care, because I had an instinct that it was better to record the truth. Now, you can't get the truth unless you creep around after me for 2.5 years. You see? So they crept around. I got used to it. If they knocked I say, come in, do what you like. It's the same with the wireless, you see. If somebody rings up, Sunrise or something, what is that? That's television, is it?
Yeah.
We would like to send a cameraman. I'm thinking a psychosocially challenged, for God's sake. Go, don't come. I don't want to go say. Let the poor buggers in. You know what I mean? And then after a while, people make up their mind. I saw you on... Some Arab told me the other day. You see? So he reckons once you've seen somebody, and we know this is not true, that the public persona... But in my day's troubles, I thought, well, we're talking about a public relationship between a neighbourhood and a faith community. Well, therefore, and I've always believed the public has got as much to get from Catholicism as Catholics have. In fact, I'm going back to the founder of the firm, Your Jesus, who said, by the way, boys and girls, we have 2 flocks. And the boys in flock number 1, flock A, said, the Jesus team, said, oh no, there's only 1 flock, there's you and us. So he's got bad news for you girls. It's 2 flocks, team B. Oh, they said, he said, follow me. So they followed him down the street and he was having lunch with the bloody local crims. See, otherwise known as tax collectors. And then the next minute he's down the street and he's got some Sheila falling at his feet, washing his feet with her hair. You know? And if they said, oh, God, we don't like the look of this, well, he's given them a choice. If you want to join up with me, it means we have to put the outsiders first. See? Now, they don't like that. That's what happened, cultural clashes with Catholicism. See? If it was lay-led, you've got parents who are used to cultural clashes in their own house. See what I mean? So it's not so much of a shock. See? Whereas clerics are naturally terrified of everything. You see, because they're what do you call it? They're shut-ins. So Vatican II said, for God's sake, open the window and let the fresh air in. And also, if you feel like it, jump out the bloody window. Because you'll find God outside the window as much as you'll find God in here. See, that's the big thing. That's why I like coming here. Thank you. Because you see it.
I'm glad
I
you
like
do.
it. I like it because
like
even
you
on the
coming
way
here
home,
too.
see, because we've got the real presence of God.
Father,
See what I mean? I like all that.
Father, just give me 2 seconds to interrupt.
righto.
Yeah. Social justice. Your mantra is, I think you said in your doco, I have a soft spot for those who get dumped.
Yeah.
We
Don't
don't-
leave me behind, Cobber. The famous saying of the soldier, where was it? There's a statue down in Melbourne at the Domain and St Kilda Road. The Fromell statue, where he's got a soldier over his shoulders. And that was in response to the voice that came out of the murk and the gloom. Don't leave me behind, Cobber. Now, the bloke didn't turn around and say, what are you, a Catholic? See? Just pick the bloke up, take him away. Now, just say you got back to headquarters and they said, what'd you bring a bloody German back? See what I mean? You still have done what you should have done. Which, with the Aussies at their best know, there's a thing called duty. See, which you learnt even when you were a convict. There were certain things you had to do and certain things that you never did. You never dobbed anybody in. See, which is a cultural problem for us. See, because they want us to dob each other in, don't they? You hear Mrs. Next Door getting bashed, and what do? Don't dob anybody in. See, don't stray from the herd. See, so a lot of cultural change is being advocated all around Commonwealth of Australia in a lot of different fields. See, but it's all right because we're only growing up. We're only 5 minutes old. We've only been here for 200, isn't it?
Father, you did a lot of work in your parish with the homeless. You had the Hope Mobile going. You set up the Emerald Hill Parish and all of that.
They threw me out Emerald Hill.
That's all right.
Yeah.
But a few times I've seen you interviewed, and we love the kind of Father Bob you're being now, but I've sensed a sadness when you go, we lost 40 young people
Oh, they died in the
under
80s.
my watch.
Yeah, disgraceful.
Tell us about the
I don't
sadness of
What can you
not being
do?
able to care for those you should be caring for.
Oh, we did our best, but the drug dealer was more powerful than we were and more attractive.
But you feel it at a personal level, don't you, as a personal
Oh, well, it was on my watch. You know, something would happen in your house or something. If a kid goes, takes off and runs away or something with somebody else that you know is no good for him, her, but what can you do? You see what I mean? And it's the same with ours. I mean, we shouldn't have lost those 40. They were all right when they were 12, 13, 14. From never Catholics, they were all culturally Turkish or Lebanese or Yugoslavs or whatever. But they founded the parish of South Melbourne, which was empty because of the developers. We were more or less empty, we were. So they found that place being a fun place to go. It was a bit like, Disneyland. Big buildings and big houses and, and gardens and all the stuff they never had. So we had that going for us, but we couldn't compete with that bloody drug trafficker. So you can't. And also you can't do much about what's going on at home. You see what I mean? And especially here at multicultural homes, you can't do much about that. And the drug trafficker was offering teenagers, take this and you'll feel better. No, I can't offer them that. You see, unless you had a robust Roman Catholic parish all working together, now you've got a phenomenon, which is what's the word? It's sensual and sensory, which is what teenagers want. See, we give them ideas. Well, they don't want ideas; they want feelings. See what I mean? Hello, the Archbishop.
I thought it was my phone.
No,
Shall I
it's
take
mine.
that for you, Father?
No, just tell him to go away.
No.
Hello, Your Grace.
No, you can't do that.
Oh, can't you do that?
No, you can't do that. We'll get
gone.
back to them, okay?
No, they're gone. I
Father,
wasn't going to answer the phone.
Father, we're going to do something.
Yes.
Look at me, Father.
Yes.
We're going to do
What are
something.
you, a bloody hypnotist or something?
I am. You should see some of the women I've hypnotised.
Yeah.
Father, we had John Marsden on this stage, and he wrote a book called Everything I Know About Writing.
Yes.
And we tried to condense his wisdom about writing in 3 minutes. So we're going to do the same with you. We're going to imagine that you've written a book, Everything I Know About Theology, and I'm going to throw a word at you.
Yeah.
And you're not allowed to go on in Father Bob Maguire fashion for 20 minutes.
All right.
You've got to give it to me in 30 seconds to a minute. I'm going to drive the truck across you.
What is it?
Okay. So here you are at 80. You're going to think very quickly on your feet.
Yeah.
Okay.
My feet's
Forgiveness. Tell me what forgiveness is.
Forgiveness.
Gee, we love the lull. I like the lull. I have silenced Father Bob. Yes. Come back to that.
Oh, yeah. Hello.
Oh, Father, this was our...
No, he's got the answer. What is it?
It's phone a friend, is it?
Not forgetfulness.
What's forgiveness?
He says, well,
what's at the heart of forgiveness?
Forgiveness. Well, I mean, I don't know. Forgiveness is.
It's a big part of Christianity, isn't it?
Oh yeah, but nobody's practicing it. See, it's hard to know what it is unless you see it often practice. Forgiveness is the woman in Rwanda who said, "You killed my son. I am now going to take you home with me, and you will be my son."
Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. Tell me what that is.
Father, Son,
we're going to whip
Spirit.
through these, Father. Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. What's that about?
Well, it's discriminatory for a start.
Father, Mother, Daughter, Holy Spirit.
Well, anything. The X Factor. Or
How do I explain?
Higgs boson. No, Father, Son, Holy Spirit's all right. I mean, it's a collective.
Is that about saying God is part of us? Our humanness is part of God too.
We are. Well, this is the big challenge for the human race: is to let God in, because God knocks at the door; He doesn't kick it down. She, whoever they are, they want to come in and join us. You see, that's evolution. So we're involving without the godliness. Because the bloody religions have come in and confused us. We don't know what godliness is because there's too many bloody brands. See?
Father, we were whipping through these, okay? This
know,
was our fast part of the interview. Grace. Tell us what grace is.
Grace. Grace, I suppose, is like breathing. It keeps you going when you least expect it. I think. Grace is free. Grace is shapeless. Grace is everything.
That's a nice answer, Father.
No, it's not. It's bullshit.
I liked it. If you were in my creative writing class, I'd really give you A+ for that. Hope. Tell us what hope is.
Hope is expecting. Hope is not wishing. When
so
you say,
I want a Ferrari.
I hope it's a fine day means I expect it's going to be a fine day. Now, as we all know, whatever you hope for, you'll have to try for. So you can't have it on a plate.
Reconciliation.
Reconciliation is, that's the thing about keeping the herd together. It's, what's the word? Restorative justice is reconciliation. Restorative, not retributive. We're going to punish you because of what you did. No. If you punish that person, you're going to punish his family, his lover, his friends. See? It's mindless. Retribution, restoration is the forgiveness? No,
reconciliation.
That's what's supposed to happen in your confessional. You were supposed to go in and say, "I've sinned." And the bloke was supposed to say, "That'll do." No, I want to tell you the whole story. No, that'll do. All right, and I'm reassuring you that you're all right, mate. And then that's confession. No, I want to tell you that. Go down and talk to your lover or Dr. Bloggs. So then the church said, listen, this is not working out too good. Let's have public confession. Do you remember that? So we'd all go in together, full churches we had, and everybody admitted they were sinners. No details. And the nice man said, I reassure you, yous are all right. It's nice. They all went out with smiles on their goddamn faces. See? There's not much forgiveness around just now.
Father, the Sermon on the Mount, summarise it for us in...
Sermon on the what?
On the Mount.
Oh.
What's that about?
Oh, I think it's about... Well, it's the outsiders again. It should appeal to Aussies who like racing, because there's nothing appeals more, and the Melbourne Cup epitomises it, when a horse comes from the back of the pack and wins. See what I mean? The unexpected. So I think that's what what's that word?
The Sermon on the Mount.
The Sermon on the Mount is all about blessed are those who come from behind and keep running. See what I mean?
And Father, I want you to do this in one line, and you've got to stick to one line, okay?
But he's getting more.
I've got you gripped here, okay?
I can't feel anything. I've got chronic inflammatory demyelinating polyneuropathy.
Stop it, Father. The essence of Christianity in one line.
The essence of Christianity?
In one line.
One line.
One line.
Well, one line is... it's the essence of Christianity is your Jesus, in one word. And you'll have to come to terms with that. You see, in one line is your Jesus. And then if you want to put it more than one word, Jesus and friends. Now that'll take about 20 years of theological lectures, because you see, he says we're all his friends, including the outsiders. See, because he's not terribly choosy or picky for his friends, and that was to teach his father a lesson.
That was about 20 lines, but I'll forgive you, Father, because I'm a forgiving kind of bloke. Would you thank Father Bob
Thank you, ladies and
for that theology? Now, we haven't finished. That was just for...
What?
That was for me putting you through the ringer. We're not finished. Father, we're just going to wind up the interview, because we're going to throw it open to the wonderful audience here. 2 last questions.
You've been very good, these poor buggers here, aren't you? How you put up with this, I don't know. Go on.
I think they actually enjoy it. They get a glass of wine. I get the sense, Father Bob, that you're waiting for the next church renaissance and that you're hanging out to see it. Will you see? It's happening now?
Yeah, here.
It is?
That's what I'm here for.
Okay. And the signs are in this audience too. Yeah. You said in your doco, Father, the older you get, the more you're meant to do. Are you full of this feverish activity of wanting to change things? You're not. And the beautiful thing that I liked about that, because I'm now 61 and a half, is you said, because you're freer. Are you freer at 80 than you were as a young seminarian?
Oh, yeah, I got locked up in that joint for 40 years. My choice, you know, and I studied, I'm thinking the other day, because I flew away to some place last week to a wedding. Where'd I go? Rockhampton or something. See, far. Now, I thought sitting there in the morning, open the window, out on the balcony, there's a tree, there's bloody birds. I said, I think I've died and gone to heaven. See, because you never had that for 40 years. But you parents know all about that. Because you've had to put in the hard yards for 20 years. And then now, as we know, that grandparents are the world's greatest babysitting organisation. You've got to put in another 20 years, isn't it? So, I mean, those 40 years, the problem with my 40 was, unfortunately, most of them were palliative care. So you were watching people fall to pieces. See, which was, I realised I'm free of that. If I had a choice, if you said to me, excuse me, I'm the Archangel Gabriel, and I've come from heaven to tell you that if you want, you can go back to South Melbourne Parish and make up your mind. I'd take it. See, because that was my wife. See, and the buggers separated us. We used to even do it on Holy Thursday, instead of the usual thing ritually, when they say, let us celebrate the priesthood. That's what's in the book. We used to celebrate the marriage between the parish priest and the parishioners. And we'd repeat the vows. I, Bob Maguire, take you, South Melbourne Parish, to be my wife. I promise to be true to you in good times and in bad, in sickness and in health. I will love you and honour you all the days, see? And they say, we the parishioners of South Melbourne take you. What more? Isn't it? Now, where are you going to get sexual abuse of children and that. See, you can't. You're only going to get it from the other end of the scale where there's emptiness. Where a man of 40 or something has never had a childhood and thinks that he's going to play with the children. See?
How do we find forgiveness there?
There, well, as somebody said today in that thing, I suppose I have to listen to it all the way home in the car, I suppose. I would have thought that you'd have to I don't know. I said earlier, we'll have to put on sackcloth and ashes, the clergy. Even as sell a token thing like the cathedral. A token. See, there'll be more wrought by singing about it, like that man and that woman. More will be wrought by putting this to music and poetry than will be by talking and discussing it to death. And I'm enlightened by the victims who in fact are like that. I told them, I said, you were the heroes in this because you in fact haven't turned upon, they've only turned upon George and they've turned upon Jerry Ridsdale and they've turned upon an individual. Now that's a bloody miracle. See? So I would have thought each parish, but see, the boys won't do it, see. Parishes are in the control of the parish priest. Now, if you said to your parish priest, we want to hold meetings about sexual abuse of children by clergy, I don't know that you're going to get a great welcome because they won't understand it and they'll be afraid that headquarters will hear it's on. We couldn't even get clergymen to come to meetings with the victims in case it was interpreted by headquarters as being disloyalty. See? So Kevin Dillon, God love him, parish priest of Geelong, but the only one I know, what's his name? Huh? Greg Reynolds as well, of course, and Karen, whatever his name is. Canon lawyer, see, but he gets caught because canon lawyer, he belongs to the diocese, the culture. But as Tony Kerrin himself, he would be. He would be. He would want to be there, but I can't see why the boys have never got together to talk about it. See what I mean? Because they don't know what they're going to say.
We are going to throw the questions. We've got we're going to throw the questions from the audience. Lisa Cole, the wonderful development manager here at Rupertswood, and my dear friend is going to walk around. Put your hand up if you want to ask a question. Just to give a bit of a respite, could you please thank the indefatigable Father Bob Maguire? No. We'd love to hear from maybe the young people in the audience first. Because
no, they don't. We don't talk the same language.
Okay.
No, I don't like water.
You don't like water?
Sorry.
You want a glass of wine?
No.
Wait a second.
What?
No.
She'll make it out.
I've read your book recently and I noted that you talked about Vincent Kiss a fair bit in there.
Which?
Father Kiss.
Oh, poor Vincent.
Yeah,
God
where
rest
did he
his
end
soul.
up?
No, he's not dead, actually.
No.
I don't think he's dead, but he
I just
disappeared.
wondered where he ended up. He disappeared.
Yeah, I don't know where he is. I don't know where he came from in the first place.
Got a question?
Because he turned up in my church in a seat and I said, what are you doing? And then he said, I'm working for the ANZ trustees. And I said, but you're still a priest? He said, yeah. I said, well, I'm here on my own, for God's sake. Why don't you just do Mass? So then, being an old digger, you see, I thought I'd better try due diligence on this bloke. And then I got in touch with Melbourne headquarters and said, Vince Kiss is in the church. Is he all right? And they said, yes, but check with the Wagga diocese, I think. So I checked with Wagga and I said, Vince Kiss is in the church. Is he all right? And they said, yes. So we did church in South Melbourne, and then, of course, being in ANZ trustees, was a connection with the one, what do you call those trusts? Philanthropic trusts that we had entree through Vince Kiss, who gave us a few $1,000. And then Darren Hinch got onto it and said, you're taking money from a pedophile. So away we went on. That took about bloody 15 years.
Father,
It's all right. It's all right.
Sorry, didn't mean to.
But Jeannie Pratt got hoodwinked by Vince Kiss, and so did the Rotary Clubs of Australia, and so did another organisation. So thank God I wasn't on my own.
Bruce Dudon, could you stand up if you don't mind?
Bruce?
So people can, yep. Beautiful, Bruce.
I mean, it's very nice of Father to be here and tell us that we're all old. We're all 29, so what are you going on about? We're all 29. You're the 80-year-old. So anyway, having been sacked from your parish position, I'm probably losing my mind on this, but do you see a great opportunity for yourself to move out as you have tonight and as you have around parts of Australia and Victoria, a great opportunity to perhaps become a new Father Bob?
Yeah, but you see, I haven't got delusions of grandeur.
I hope not.
I only go where people... I mean, I'm not out... I've got no agent or anything. You see what I mean? All I do is if he rings up on the phone and blah, 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 I say, yeah, righto. The woman who runs the book is used to it. She's getting frightened because I'm 80. She thinks if somebody rings up and says, what about 2016? I'm saying... Well, I say, well, write it in the bloody book, for God's sake, because we'll see what happens. See, I like all that. In other words, I'm free range, not battery. But that's not by my choice. I'm psychosocially challenged. I don't want to go anywhere, do anything. But people seem to think that the product is marketable. See? Now, the product might be my bloody stupid self. You see, in which case I don't mind that. See, because as far as I'm concerned, I told somebody this, and I think they rang up a psychiatrist. I said, there is no me. See? As an individual, there's not much of me in this. See? Because I lost that first 15 years. I don't know. I was thinking the other night I almost frightened myself to death in my sleep. Because I must have been dreaming about... I run down the list, no wife, child or lover, therefore you've got to fill in the time. I run down the list and I start with my sister Marguerite, who died when she was 1 with something or other, childhood meningitis. And then I go to my father and my mother, my sister Kathleen. I'm saying, hang on, in my sleep. I'm saying, I don't know much about my father. You've just run out already. Now, that's not what's supposed to happen, because memories are supposed to be the one thing that can keep you going. See? You're supposed to feed on your memories. And the older you get, you see, you should be having more enjoyment feeding on your memories. So I got a fright and I thought, that's when I'd like to, what? I should jump in the bloody aeroplane and go to Glasgow and knock on the door, because I know they're still in there, and say, Jim's back. See? Because he was entitled to be, redeemed. See? But he should never have taken those drinks while he was playing the piano down at the local pub in Glasgow. He should never have taken the drinks the customers bought him, because he was too young, see, and he probably had the alcoholic gene. See? And he suffered, and the rest of us suffered because of that. But the memories, I like the memories. And yet we see we're running out of the ability to be able to remember because of that bloody thing, that boy. Have you got it in your pocket? You have. You've got an electronic device. Haven't I knew it. No, and if you press the button, he has instant access to all the wisdom accumulated by the human race. That boy there. Isn't that right? otherwise
question
known
from over there.
as Google. Dr. Google.
Do we have another question from around there before the
I put on
microphone
Dr.
comes around
Google
here?
today a thing
Okay.
because I like doing this. Because I said to somebody, don't be a dog in the manger. And he said, what does that mean? See, because it's old. So I thought, oh, well, I better Google it myself.
Father, we've got a question from over
And
there.
it says, don't, yeah.
I'm most probably what you'd call a proddy dog, but I really love listening to Father Kevin Dillon from Geelong. Yes. What's the hope of the church if there is more Kevin Dillons?
Yeah, we're sweet, mate. See, you can't, I mean, the horse is not dead. So she took off with your Jesus and she ran into a purple patch. And then from 400 to 1,000. And I like doing these things in bites, and I'm not a student, unfortunately, to be able to spend time on trying to work. But I'm sure the bites are important. What happened that 100 years, what happened Martin Luther, and all the changes and all the, you know what I mean? And Vatican II got us to the stage where we almost had a satisfactory, a mutually agreeable conclusion to the Reformation. The Protestants were happy with us, we were happy with the Protestants, we almost fell in love, which frightened the tripe out of the Roman hierarchy. See, because what happens if they find themselves part of? They don't want to be part of. They want to be greater than. So, yeah, but you'll see, you need, behind Kevin Dillon, you must have a whole host of lay people. And also because he's a communitarian, he'd have a whole bunch of local. I've been with him down there doing a couple of jobs to raise money for a homeless person's refuge. But you see, they're all behind him. See, but that place has got what you've got, which others would kill for. See, Sunbury's got identity. See, the Geelong's got identity. I was trying to resurrect South Melbourne's identity. See, because it deserves it. 1854, which, if you Google it, 1854 is Eureka. We were saying Mass out the front of in the paddock, allocated to us by the state of Victoria, a paddock. At the same time, the comrades were up at the barricades in Ballarat. So now Sunbury, the history of Sunbury, you see, I'd kill for to be in Sunbury because a lot of people will suit them to what's the word, demythologise Sunbury. By building new, what do you call it, estates and all that stuff. You see? Now how are you going to share the mythology of Sunbury with the new citizens? See? Because we believe in the Westminster system, we've got departments of hospitality and departments of we will explain to you what kind of place Sunbury is, and what about the natives should be known as being the, see? You should be the tour guides. See? Because we're going to have to depend on one another. So we're all going the same way. Forget Protestants and Anglicans and all that. We're all this together. See? I was meeting with the other day at a mosque in Hoppers Crossing, you see. The sheikh, because I'm saying to him, look, we're feeding people in the street, how about we do it together? So let the Aussies work it out, because the Aussies are simple poor buggers. If they see me stand next to a bloke with a what do you call it, tea towel, not tea towel, it's a terrible thing to say, well then you see, the Aussies will love that. Our food vans are run by teams of Jews and us, because historically we've been mixed up with the Jews in synagogues because a couple of our workers, early workers, were Jews. See? So we just take it for granted. The Baptists were last Friday night, we fed 100 around next door to Luna Park. So it's all or nothing. If there's no peace amongst the religions, there is no peace in the world. And to do that, you've got to get out of your way out of your comfort zone and go and meet them. That's what the secular is for, because the secular is a safe place for all of those religions to meet. And the secular is entitled to demand that the religions work themselves out. That's what the secular is entitled to that. See? Because the secular is as sacred as religion is sacred. Religion's got a beginning and an end. The story. But the secular is almost the never-ending story.
Father, we've got one last question from Katrina, and then we're going to...
Katrina, then we're going.
Congratulations, Father. Your body might be falling to pieces, but your mind is still there.
Your fat body too.
Well, we don't get personal here, you know.
Tell me, where do you see a real community today?
Experience it. Well, they're all in the making. So I was up there. It wasn't Rockhampton, it was Gladstone. Little places you see, they're able to, but then there's new developments, and I can see it hard. You've got to have communitarians, you know.
So where do you see people working together?
Where do I see them? Hardly anywhere. But that's me.
Still hopeful?
Well, that's my aim, is to get people to work together. Money is handy. Money is handy because you can provide opportunities of hospitality. Put this show on, you need money. See what I mean? My show's been running on the smell of a greasy oil rag for 40 years. Otherwise, I'd be putting on, occasions like this. See, but you haven't got the dough. But we're doing it. The next episode, the next generation is determined not to live on the smell of a greasy oil rag because they don't know how to do it. See what I mean? We've paid all our bills, God knows how, for 40 years. You know what I mean? And the new people are talking about the investment fund, all those U-Butte stuff, you know what I mean? And they'll get it, they'll do it. Because our core business and our ethos has in fact almost won the right, apparently, to survive into the future, which is nice. See, that's all I've done. See, because I think with the product itself is marketable because it's built on communitarianism. See what I mean? And communication. You see, and of being of earthly use. I can't see the value of a religion that is of no earthly use. You see, who wants to have funerals but say nothing about the person in the box. He said, no, I can't understand that. And the Aussies can't either. That's why they've given it all up. That's why they built the shrine. After World War I, the boys came back and the churches said, you will all report for duty at each cathedral and church, and we will all thank God together in that denominational church for the victory. And the soldier says, no, we won't. See, we were together in the trenches. We're not going to be divided now. So they built the shrine as a sacred site, secular sacred site.
Could you please
which is what the pubs were supposed to be. Special, sacred. What did we call it? The Aussies down at the trough, or down at the drinking, whatever it's called. Yeah, all of that was supposed to be that. See, and your clubs are supposed to be the same. New South Wales, the clubs were. See, because you had to become a member, didn't you? New South Wales. As soon as the Vics got hold of it, you see, we turned them into what they are now. God, forgive us, that's what we've done. Because there was self-discipline in the New South Wales clubs, wasn't there? You had imposed rules and you had all this, you know what I mean? So communitarianism, that's the way to go. And that's the Father, Son and the Holy Spirit. See, there's three of them.
I'm glad you got to that.
Thank you.
Could you please thank the irrepressible Father Bob Maguire?